So as we talked about, Joseph and Emma lived in what's now called the homestead for most of the Nauvoo period. But Joseph talked about how his family often went to bed without supper while living there because they were overwhelmed with visitors, many of whom were impoverished. His plan A was the Nauvoo house, that big brick boarding house under construction. It's moving very slow, though. So plan B, a new home, is being built for Joseph and Emma in 1842. You see it just behind me. And then as it's being built, somebody suggests the Nauvoo house isn't going to be done anytime soon. Perhaps the Smiths should add some hotel rooms to the back of their new house. So they do. So last day of August, 1843, Joseph and Emma are removing across the street to what they called the Nauvoo Mansion. We most often call it the Mansion House today. And once that addition is on, this structure stretched back about as far as the white picket fence goes today. So a much bigger structure. We're going to go in and explore what's left today, but before we do, let's talk about what's missing. In 1890, the hotel wing had fallen into disrepair. It had been given by Emma to her son David Hiram Smith. He married and he had a child, but he also eventually is very ill and unable to take care of his part of the house. So it's fallen into disrepair, torn down 1890. So the house survived, the hotel addition did not. What's missing in back upstairs, 10 hotel rooms, 6 doubles, 6 singles, and 4 doubles. In back downstairs, in the very back, a room for Lucy Mack Smith. There was a well room back there. There was kind of a commercial kitchen. And then also, maybe the biggest room back there, the hotel dining room. And that dining room is where they had the public viewing for Joseph and Hiram, June 29 of 1844. Remember, they were killed June 27, brought back. The bodies were prepared for burial. They had a private family viewing on the afternoon and evening of the 28th, then a public viewing on the 29th. Imagine something like 10,000 people passing through the front door in one day, through the hallway, through the porch, into that dining room to pay their final respects. Let's go have a look at the Nauvoo Mansion House. As you walk in the front door of Joseph and Emma Smith's mansion house and turn right, you would enter the bar room, as they called it, the room that we're in now. This is the room that you would start your stay in. If you were coming to the hotel, you'd sign a guest register and then be taken up and shown a room. We have accounts of Joseph sitting on the carpet in this room, pulling sticks with the Nauvoo police. Stick pulling is a game of strength. You put your feet against your opponents, one stick in between. The goal is to pull the other person up and over the top of you. This particular account said that Joseph could pull up even the stoutest of the Nauvoo policemen with one hand. I'm not sure if that tells us more about the prophet or the police. Behind me, on the wall above the mantel, you see Sutcliffe Maudsley watercolors. Maudsley, an English convert, disabled, he gathered to Nauvoo, and to make a little extra money, he would stand you up, trace your profile, and then fill it in. So this is Joseph in his lieutenant general's uniform and Emma in her horseback riding habit. Maudsley was having a rough go of it, though. He came to Joseph for help, and in response, Joseph created the Young Gentlemen and Ladies Relief Society. And their very first task was to raise money for a house for Sutcliffe Maudsley. Once they completed that task, Joseph then turned them loose, using that money to help build the house for Sutcliffe. We have moved just across the hallway to the sitting room in the mansion house. This would have been the fanciest room in the house. It would be the place where the Smiths would hope to entertain their most important visitors. On one occasion, Joseph took a meal in this room, and he ate too much, and he blamed Emma for overfeeding him. W. Phelps, another church leader, was there and said, "Well, Brother Joseph, you should do as Napoleon did. Just eat at a tiny table, big enough for you and one plate of food. That way you can't eat too much." Emma laughed and said, "Oh, Brother Phelps, you don't know Mr. Smith as I. He could never take a meal without friends at the table." Behind me, you see some of the best-known images of Joseph and Emma. These are attributed to David Rogers, a Latter-day Saint artist from New York City, who visited Nauvoo in September of 1842. We've moved down the hallway through what was sometimes called a shaving porch and into Emma's kitchen, or at least that's what this room is originally. But fairly quickly, the Smiths realized that innkeeping is not the best use of their time. So they leased the hotel operation out to a man by the name of Ebenezer Robinson. When they do that, they have to give up not just the hotel addition that's stretched out behind us, but almost the entire house. As part of the compensation for that lease, though, they are able to take their meals from the hotel dining room, which means Emma doesn't need her own kitchen anymore. So they convert this space into a private sitting parlor for the family. We saw their formal parlor, the sitting room up front. That's where they would entertain their guests. This would become the room where they would escape when they had done enough entertaining. The Smiths spent their last New Year's together here. Somebody had rented out the mansion house dining room. We're having a big celebration. Joseph and Emma chose not to attend. Instead, they gathered quietly here with John Taylor, family, and friends. The chairs at the table, I believe, to be original to the home. So we've now climbed the stairs, and we are in Joseph and Emma's sleeping chamber. This room concealed access to one of Joseph Smith's hiding places. Right behind me is what was known by 1847 as the secret closet. When you looked in, you would see clothes pegs running around near the top of the wall with clothes hanging down. But if you knew what to do, you could reach in, grab the last peg, pull it out. That released the board, and it was on a hidden hinge. It flips up, exposing a seam in the wooden wall. That wall swings open, exposing a ladder right here. You climb up through a scuttle or a trapdoor into the attic. They laid planks over ceiling joists for a place to sit quietly. So another of Joseph's hiding places. This one survived. I don't think he ever had to use this one because the extradition attempts were behind him at this point in time, but it would have been comforting to know it was there just in case. We have moved through another upstairs bedroom, probably used for the children at times, maybe Lucy Mack Smith, and we're now in the servants' room, or at least that's what this room starts as. So servants here, stairs going downstairs into the kitchen, storage room just to the north. But fairly quickly, again, the Smiths, as part of that lease agreement, the hotel lease, have to give up the big, beautiful bedrooms in the front of the house. And they have to move into what had been the servants' room, and they put their children in the storeroom just next to us. 3 and sometimes 4 Smith boys there. Their daughter Julia probably in a room with Lucy Mack Smith on the back of the house. Julia would have been helping to care for her grandmother there. The chest of drawers just next to me is a piece that Emma purchased in St. Louis for this home. And then on the far wall, a rail and style chest, probably 1660s English, that has a false bottom in it. And that is traditionally where Emma hid the manuscripts that would later become the inspired version or Joseph Smith translation of the Bible.